Have you heard of the carnivore diet? It's the current fad, and we have heard nothing but good things about it. However, before you give it a try, you have to understand how to follow it properly to achieve your weight loss targets. How to start a carnivore diet. The first step in starting this diet is to commit to a specific time frame during which you will follow it and decide whether or not it works for you. Take it as a challenge, such as a 30-day challenge or a 60 to a 90-day challenge. The choice is yours. But when you commit to a period, stick to it and don't give up. Some people notice changes within the first 2 weeks, while some take longer because results depend on your overall health and weight. What about meal quantity? The carnivore diet is much easier to adapt to than the ketogenic diet. You can eat until you are comfortably stuffed and there's no need to count calories, macro or micronutrients or do portion assessment. You must eat as our ancestors did. Do you have any ideas how they ate their meals? Back then, things weren't as complicated. So, they just sat down and started eating whenever they felt hungry. So, don't worry about portion size, at least initially. When to eat? That's a tricky part of the carnivore diet. You can eat once a day or up to 3 times. It depends on your comfort. However, you must avoid snacking at all costs. You may eat 1 meal a day or 3. Just stay away from snacks. You can have 1 large meal and then skip the remainder of the day. Or you can eat 2 or 3 smaller meals. It's really a matter of personal preference. What to eat? You should focus entirely on eating fatty meat, such as fatty cuts of lean beef or fatty seafood. Always opt for the fattier cut and keep a 1-to-1 ratio between protein and fat in your diet. Basically, your meal should have more fat. If you find it too fatty for your liking, choose cuts with relatively less fat next time you buy meat. You can always experiment with a carnivore diet. How to transition to a carnivore diet? This would be a real challenge if you have been on a high-carb diet and have relied primarily on processed foods so far. The ideal way to transition to a carnivore diet is to start slow. Don't push your body into adapting to something totally different. Generally, people take 3 to 5 weeks to transition to this diet fully. However, if you have been on a high-carb diet, you should be aware of carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms such as constipation, muscle cramps, migraines, rashes, bloating, diarrhea, and weakness. Adapting to a carnivore diet. The 3 most critical organs of your body, the stomach, gallbladder, and liver, would have to adapt to the new diet. This may be difficult for these organs in the beginning, especially if you have been following a high-carb or low-fat diet for years. Do you know why? Your stomach gets lazy because of these diets. It should have a high acidity level, ideally between 1.3 to 2.0 on the pH scale. That's very acidic. However, a diet comprising mainly sugar and grains would force your stomach to maintain a low acidity rate of 4 or even 5 pH. If that's the case, your stomach will find it difficult to digest meat. So, the adapting period entails ramping up the stomach's acidity level, which may require some time. Now, let's come to the gallbladder. Its principal function is to store and concentrate bile. So, eating a low-fat diet for years would have made your gallbladder muscles or its storage or concentrating capabilities weaker. This is why your gallbladder requires time to strengthen. The liver's role comes into play soon after. People who don't have a gallbladder would find that this adaptation period is slightly longer than others because the liver has to develop storage capacity to perform the additional function of a gallbladder. The liver's bile ducts can store bile, but it would take several weeks. So, don't worry if you don't notice many changes in the first few weeks because your liver will have to dilate the ducts to start storing and concentrating bile like the gallbladder. Let's find out how to prepare carnivore diet, but before that, subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos. How to prepare carnivore diet. You should cook the food with animal fats rather than shortening or vegetable oil. That's inflammatory stuff and it's pretty bad for you. Cook the meat in butter or ghee if you don't like animal fat, but trust us on its beneficial impact. Animal fat will increase the meal's protein content and is an excellent source of vitamins and minerals that you otherwise won't get from your diet. Ingredients. In carnivore diet, you're supposed to include plenty of natural salt. Don't worry, it won't negatively impact your health because you won't be adding regular table salt, but natural salt. Adding more salt to the meal will help fight carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms and give your body a sufficient dose of sodium and chloride. Electrolytes and minerals include a good source of electrolytes and minerals to deal with carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms that you will initially experience. It also helps combat food cravings, which may signify mineral deficiency. You may use supplemental products like electrolyte drops to maintain electrolyte balance. Which meat is better? Grass-fed meat is best for carnivore diet. You can eat all kinds of meat, but don't ignore eggs as they are a rich source of protein. Liver and seafood are ideal options too. Shellfishes are best in seafood, and liver is a superfood and an excellent source of essential minerals and vitamins. There is a sufficient quantity of vitamin C found in the liver as well. Anything from the chicken liver to the beef liver is fine. Make it a part of your weekly diet plan to attain maximum health benefits. What to drink? Drink as much water as possible, but don't force yourself if you aren't feeling thirsty. We mean that instead of sugary beverages, try drinking more water. You can drink sparkling water, black coffee, or unsweetened tea as well. Bone broth. Now that you're starting a carnivore diet, there should be some way to use the leftover bones. We suggest that you start storing all kinds of bones, whether chicken, fish, or even pork, and keep them in the freezer in a Ziploc bag. When the bag is full, make bone broth with spices and vegetables of your choice. Bone broth is the best source of minerals and vitamins locked up in the bone marrow. We hope you found this video informative. Hit the subscribe button to stay connected with us.